Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to explain how to use the SharePoint search within the Power Automate. SharePoint search has a REST API which can be used in any applications. In my previous video, I have shown how to use the same REST API within SPFX web part, and in this video I would explain how to use it within the Power Automate. The REST API has several components which you can use to call the search API, and this API you can chain it with multiple query parameter and filter the search result based on the result which you are looking for. In my scenario, in this sample demo, I would filter all the documents based on the extension like the docx, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and some picture files. So the first part of the parameter the first part of the URL would be the domain, which is in my case msisgreat.sharepoint.com, and subsequently you should call _API/search/query, and you should use the keyword. Basically, what is the keyword which you are looking for? You can use star keyword after you enter the keyword just to search the wildcard search, and after that you can chain it with the multiple parameter for sorting the list search result. In my case, I'm going to sort it based on the number of views, and you can limit the search result by the limit which you can, and also you can include the pagination, up to you. And also I'm selecting only certain properties for the document result which is returning. If you leave this parameter open, it will return you all the properties of the search result, but in my case I want specific properties, so I'm just specifying the properties which is like title, modified, edit, and the path. And finally, I want to refine using the refiner only the extension which I am looking for. So the final result would be look like this. I mean, the final end URL which you are going to query will look like this, and I'm going to use that in the Microsoft Power Automate. The REST output which you get it from the SharePoint, you can, by default it is XML, and if you specify it as JSON, you will get a JSON result. Even when you in JSON, if you don't want to have the metadata, you can specify the metadata, no metadata option in your header, then automatically you would get only the JSON, clean JSON, which you can see on the left side. In my Power Automate, I'm going to parse the written JSON, which is the search result, and I want to have only in my own format. This is my JSON format, which I will return the search result. The search result which I'm using, which is my custom result later to use it in my application or send it as an email. In this demo, I would show how to format this search result in my JSON format and send it as an email. So now let's create the Power Automate now. So this is my Power Automate on my tenant. I'm going to create a new Power Automate. In my case, it is just the instant Power Automate, which is going to be triggered only on the manual trigger. Let me name it as SP Search. SP Search is the name of the Power Automate, which is manual trigger. And in my manual trigger, I'm going to get the value, which is the keyword. So every time when you type the keyword, it is going to search only that keyword. Okay. So the next step you need to do is that once you need to call the SharePoint REST API. So for that, there is a separate SharePoint HTTP request. I'm going to filter by SharePoint and HTTP request. Okay. Select this one. So if you select this SharePoint HTTP request, you have several choices. You need to fill in all the choice. So in my case, it is my top level site. So I just choose the top level site, and it is a get method. And in the get method, I'm going to use the complete URL which you see in the PowerPoint. So in my case, it would be with the keyword. Okay, so this is the keyword which comes from the manual input. So whenever the manual input is there, it gets a keyword and it would just use that. Okay, and remember this URL is the same URL which I'm using it for which I specified in the Power Automate or the PowerPoint. Okay, so next I need to pass the correct JSON field to get it as a search result as a JSON. So let me get it from JSON, accept, and I need to pass with no metadata. I'm going to use with no metadata. So this is the choice which you need to specify in your header. Remember, this is the header. And next thing is that I'm going to parse this search result using the parse JSON. So this is the option you see here, parse JSON. Use this parse JSON and you get the body of the previous result body. Here you need to specify the schema of the search result. So I already have used it. So if you see here, this is the schema search, the search result, not the schema, sorry. This is the sample search result which I get when I invoke in the URL. You can also try to get that directly by pasting it in the Internet Explorer or the Edge. Yeah, you can use the search result. You can also use the Postman to get the sample search result and then get the schema. So in my case, I have the search result already here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to generate the schema based on the result. So this is the schema which it has generated based on my search result. So I'll be using that schema subsequently. So once it has passed the JSON, what I'm going to now do is that I'm going to create a parameter or the variable. Initialize the variable. See here, it's initialize variable. Say example, my response JSON. Okay, and this would be an object. So here what I'm going to do is I want to format the search result for my own use in my own format, and this is the format which I'm going to create, because basically the search result which comes from the SharePoint search, it has all the other fields and the parameters which I don't want. So basically I would form my own JSON. This is my object. Probably I will rename it to meaningful one, which is response JSON web. Okay, so once I get this value, I would form an array of result. So for that, what I do is I initialize another variable, initialize the variable. This would be like response array, and this would be an array. That's it. Okay, let me rename this to an array. Okay, so now what I do is whatever the JSON result, my custom result which I'm forming in, I would just add it to the array, and then later I would use that array. So now the input is there. Now the variables are all set. The next step, I'm going to add the for each or the each statement to iterate through the search result. So for that, what I do is let me apply to each, and I'm going to get the rows. This is the rows. So why I'm getting this rows? Because all the search result, if you see here, it is under the table and then the rows. The search result comes as a row with a key value pair, and the key is the property name and value is the value of the property which you are selecting. So in this sample, if you see here, the title is the key and value is the value of the file title. So basically you need to iterate through all those rows and the cell and then identify a key and save the value. In my case, I'm going to find out whether my key is title and save it into my title JSON. And similarly for modified OWS data, if it is modified OWS date, save it into my modified JSON property. So for that, for each I've already done. And next, to process my title or for each properties, I'm going to use the switch keyword, control switch. Okay, so in the switch keyword I'm going to use the keys. So let me look for the key. So if you start typing into the key, there would be several keys which are there in the schema, because if you see the search result, keys are occurring for all the properties as well. So if you see here, the properties also have a key. Our cell, which is the original cell, and it has a key as well. So it occurs at the third location because I've been using it, so I'm just using the third. You can just select the key. Okay, so now when you select the key property or the key from the dynamic content, automatically it would add apply to each to, which is nothing but it is automatically iterating through the cells, which is that we want. So now that for each cell it will find out the keys. Now what I need to do is I need to parse the key value as title. So if the key is title, so now you need to add it to the JSON format. So for adding it to the JSON format or the object, you need to use the compose object first. Okay, compose object first, and then inside the compose object you need to there is a method which is called set property. So what does that set property does is that it sets the value for a property within a JSON object. So I go to the expression, use set property. You see here, set property is the method, and in that method it takes an object. In our case, the object is the response JSON, and the property which you are going to set is the title property, and the value comes from the value, which is a key value pair. So let me find out which is the response JSON. Okay, click on the response JSON. Then I'm going to set the property which is the title property. Just set the title, and the value comes from the key, from the value. So if you go to dynamic, there is a value. That should be something called value. Let me find out the value. Probably you can type it on your own. So there is a method called items of to iterate all the value from for each. Apply underscore to each underscore to, that is our apply to each items of, and there is a format you need to say question and the value. That's it. So what it does is there is a items function which takes, if you want to find the particular item from your top level apply to each, you can specify items of, usually it will always add underscore, so apply to, so probably I'll make it case sensitive, apply to each. Okay, apply to each. So follow the same case sensitive in case if it is okay, apply to each, they'll always add underscore, and I am going to get the value. That's it. Okay, click OK, and it should have added your property here. Okay, so it has to look like this. Basically I'm just adding setting the property for the JSON which I am using in. Okay, so once you set the property, again you have to set it to the exact variable. So I use a set variable. Okay, set variable and the response JSON, and you need to set the output of the compose output. That's it. So by this, what it does is, whenever the key is a title, it adds a property to our JSON, which is our custom JSON, and it sets the variable. That's it. So you have to repeat this for each of the property which you are looking for. For example, this is only for the title, and similarly you will have to do the same for the other properties. So in my case, what are the other properties? If you see here, there is a property called path. So if you want to set the same property called path, then you'll have to use the similar method. Like, let me do one more, which is path, and then add the compose 2. Then I've already copied my previous compose. So set property and the value, this time it is path, not the title property, it is path. That's it. And I just click OK. And if you see here, this is the value you need to pass, and again you need to set the variable. That's it. And the variable is response JSON, and the value is the output to compose of 2. That's it. Okay, it is an output to the compose of 2. That's all. I'm setting only 2 of the properties. So once you set all the property, you need to add this to an array. So you can add this outside of your row as well, because once you form one JSON file, you can add it to an array for each cell. So which means that cell is finishing here. So here you need to call append to an array variable. Append to array variable. Use this one. We have response array, and add the response JSON. Okay, response JSON. That's it. So it will form an array. So finally, all the data is already here, and I want to send this data as an email so that I can find out what is that it forms, or the search result. So later I'm sending it to send to email. Send email, and send it to myself to check. And the subject would be search. And just use the search result. It will not show the array. So in my case, what I do is I just type it variables of response array. Okay, so let me check once. Response array. It should have gone again. Let me add it. Expression variables of response array. That's it. Click OK. So sometime it gives you this expression is invalid error. You just click outside somewhere here, and then just click OK. It should be OK. I don't know. Sometime it gives that. So now it will just print out the JSON which is formed. Okay. So the flow is ready now to test. So we can test this flow running in. Okay. So now what I do is I just test the flow. I'll perform, save the test. It asks for the connection. Continue. Now I'm going to enter blockchain. Okay. Run the flow. Click on done. So it will start to run the flow. Okay, so now what it does is it requests to the SharePoint, and let me check. See here, it got all the result. It's quick, fast. The only time it wait for each to identify each key value pair, and then it will form the JSON of my own format. So it takes a while to create that. So we have to wait and then wait for the email to come. Okay, now the flow has completed, and if you try to debug it, there are 20 search results for the blockchain star, and it had iterated through each 20 results, and there is a switch case also, and finally it has appended to the array, and the output is seen in this. Okay, so hopefully if we go to the email, this is the search result, see here, and this is the search result which you can see. Okay, let me put it into the Visual Studio Code. Okay, and then save this so that I can, maybe I'll just save it into sample result.json f1. Okay, it has formatted. See here, the result is here. Since we set only the these two properties in the switch case, remember, so these two properties are set for all the 20 results. So this how you do the SharePoint search within the flow, and it is pretty simple. If you see here, it is very simple format here, and let me show all the activities. Okay, it is very simple. You just parse the REST API, and finally you get the result, and later this result you can use it in any of your application. Okay, hope you like the video. Please subscribe, share, and like the videos. Thank you so much for watching.